Hello there, guys. Welcome back to Younes Talks Football. I hope all of you are doing well. If you're a United fan right now, you're in tatters. If you're a Liverpool fan right now, you're maybe just a little bit disappointed at the blip, right? And that Liverpool have finally lost the game. And if you're a Chelsea fan, it's concerning, isn't it? Yeah. Well, I wanted to go into some detail. Because the reaction since yesterday, since we lost to Brighton in a really, really poor way, everyone is on panic mode. Everyone. And I hope this video shows just how brittle, not just the fan bases. I don't mean that in a bad way, by the way. That's not in a condescending way. I'm going to prove to you how brittle things are, right? How easily things can get cracked around here. Despite when things are actually looking good, or you pick something up and you see and you're like, whoa, this looks really good. But the quality of it, the moment you just tap onto it, oh my God, I think there's a crack. It's not durable. And that goes across every level, including the fan base here. So I want to try and illustrate why. And I want to try and illustrate what is the best way to move forward. What is the best way? Now, let me start off at that point. Just how brittle and how weak things are, right? We've come off the back of 4 really bad results, right? 4 really bad results in a row, which I have to be honest, not only did I say that by match day 6, match day 7, around there, we would be able to see where things might be heading. I mean, you couldn't get any worse, really. But not just that. We've had all of these results back to back to back to back. That is really bad. That tells me immediately, now I don't have any proof for this. I don't have any evidence for this. But it's a theory that I'll always stick with because more times than not, it turns out to be true. That happens when something's gone down behind the scenes. Something's not so right. Yeah? What is it? I don't know. But things are not so harmonious as maybe people think. That's the only thing. When results tank in this sort of way. Now, for Chelsea specifically, there are other circumstances at play here that we have to acknowledge. And I didn't think it'd be an issue up until later. But not having a pre-season, being in the Club World Cup till the end, the fitness levels were always a concern. I think no matter how optimistic or not so optimistic you were coming into the season, the one thing that no one could deny was fitness levels are going to be hit at some point. When? God knows. I had it down for December. I wouldn't have thought it'd be now. But we're already seeing injuries and we're already seeing big questions in regards to that area. So is that a big part to play? Perhaps. Only if you're in with the squad and within the club, you really understand what's going on at Cobham, will you know the real answers. We can only speculate based on what we can see, and we can only speculate based off of what we can react to, with what we see day to day, what we see week in, week out, and what we see game to game. So that's that. But let's go back to the point of those are the things that might be circumstances that aren't helping the situation. Then we get to what we see game in, game out. The red cards, the lack of discipline, the poor in-game management, the poor tactical decisions, the lack of risk-taking, I want to call it that, but you get what I mean. When we go down to 10 men, we look like a completely different side, and Maresca looks like a completely different manager. But on top of that, there are other factors at play as to why is it perhaps we're in this situation in the first place. Now, we go back to what we've been speaking about for the last 3 years. Directors, ownership, strategy, model, right? That's always going to be a question mark, and this is the foundation as to why things are so brittle. And let me prove it to you. Even within the fan base now. This is a consequence of the last 3 years. Because if this season was to be taken in isolation, let's be honest, there's nothing to panic about. And I'll prove it to you. Do you know for the last 30 games, now 30 games is a random number based on the back end of last season from the 1-0 loss at the Emirates, if you remember. From that point onwards, 30 matches we've played, all competitions. Yeah? How many have we lost? Or let me do it this way, because for you it's going to be easier to read. 7. Out of the 30, we've lost 7. We've also won. How much? Out of the 30, we've won 19 matches. That's basically 2/3 win. That's good. That's good. Enzo Maresca, his entire time at Chelsea so far, all competitions, 72 matches. How many wins? 44. That's 61 and a bit percent. That's up there with the greats that we've had. That's up there with Jose and Carlo and all these guys. Too cool. You can argue the quality of the opposition based on Conference League, for example, would have helped those statistics. I hear you. But I guess he can only compete in what he can compete in. And I also include what we've done in the league and what we've done in the Club World Cup too. Those are entirety. 72 games, 44 wins, 17 losses. That's not bad. So I ask, why? Why is it that after a run of form that we've seen, everyone's on panic stations? And I'm going to say, correctly so. I've just told you, these statistics are not bad statistics, but the reaction is justified. Why? Because of the last 3 years. The worry that is in the fan base at the moment, after seeing what we've seen, is, oh my God, we're going to see it again, aren't we? We're going to see it again. Which is something clubs can't really relate with, except us. What we saw when we hired Graham Potter after sacking Tuchel, what we saw after Graham Potter got sacked and we brought in Lampard, what we saw after Lampard left and we got in Pochettino, what we saw after Pochettino left and now it's Enzo Maresca. There's always a point in the season where there's a massive nosedive. Everyone is now scared this is the beginning of a nosedive. That is it. That is it. That's the concern. That points back to, it's the strategy, it's the recruitment. Now, I want to be objective with this. I want to try and focus on solution here and not just come on here and complain about the problems. Because realistically, we've had 3 years, that's not actually got us anywhere. Me, specifically, very easy for me to come on here and be like, listen, the owners need to get out of the club. Very easy. Can that be done? Can a protest happen? We've been there, done that, yeah? I helped spearhead that. Can that be done? Let me be completely honest and truthful. There isn't enough numbers to be able to get that done. There just isn't. I'm going to state the facts right now. There isn't enough people that want to go in that direction to be able to actually get something done in that regard. Even then, even if there was, you think one protest is going to change anything? People assemble. In the modern day, people assemble for one time. Does that actually make much of a difference? No, it needs to be relentless for it to have some sort of an impact. So that is off the table because there isn't enough people that want it. I've been there, done it, and worn the t-shirt. I've seen how that can work. I've seen what's needed and necessary. The logical thing to bring to this situation, and this isn't exclusive to Chelsea either. This is exclusive to other football clubs. You cannot force someone to sell. You can't. They will have to want to sell. Tottenham Hotspur recently just got a bid apparently of 4-point-something billion. They've turned it down. You can't stop that. So we need to try and talk objectively. Try and actually get these people that are at the club to see some sense. Yeah? To see what is logical here. To see what actually needs to be done because they have the power of the decisions at the football club is in their hands. Right? So we all need to try and be constructive and try and bring some actual solution as suggestion from the fan base of what can be done. Now, there is one thing that many people that I think agree with. When we see the pattern re-emerging like this, like we are seeing now, and now everyone's concerned, oh, we're seeing it again, we're going to have a massive nosedive. The one thing to turn to, aside from Enzo Maresca, and even then, people will make the point of who hired Enzo Maresca. Correctly so. But in the same breath, I think Enzo Maresca's actually done well up until this point. It's only now that we're seeing, you are making some decisions here that does not make sense. And that is specifically when we go down to 10 men. When we're not down to 10 men, things look all right. That first half yesterday was decent from us. Not just that, prior spells that we've had, when it's 11-11 and we've got all our players available, he actually gets them playing, right? The moment that there's something to be concerned about, he retreats. He just goes into full handbrake mode. No. We have to try and rely on something that is our weakness. In this regard, our defending. We can't defend. Now, people will ask, why can't we defend? And correctly so. That's not realistically on Maresca, because Maresca did ask for reinforcements and we were all briefed that, right? That's on recruitment. So now we turn to the directors. Now, the logical thing here that many people can agree on is, are the levels of the directors what is needed at this club to get to an elite level? Many will say no. Many will say no. And justifiably so. If we are on the brink of going down another nosedive, I want to make this clear, and I think it's only fair. If Enzo Maresca is to be a casualty in this instance of the next few games, things really tank, and then, because who we got next? We got Jose on a manager bounce with Benfica at the Bridge, the stadium that he made a fortress. That's what we're doing. We're not playing against Jose, who is 2 years down the line that might be struggling a little bit. No, we're getting him on his manager bounce. That is as good as prime Jose, and we know. Chances are he's going to come to the Bridge and Benfica and grab a 1-0. You can best believe, you can bet on that. And when we got Liverpool at home, and they're going to want to prove a point because they just lost to Palace. So there's that as well. When we rely on defending even more, and we see results going in this regard, and we are seeing that as our weakness, then you can argue the recruitment is the reason why we've got that in the first place. With all the money that's been spent, right? That has to be questioned. That's only fair. That's where I have to be honest and say that's not being negative or anything like that. That's actually being objective. You have to be able to face the criticism where it's deserved, and when something does need to be criticized, you have to point it out. But I also believe, and I think it's only fair, when you do see good things, you point that out, because then if you don't do that, you don't progress. You have to be able to acknowledge what is actually good and working here, what isn't, and what needs to be improved. And as long as you bring those two together, you find balance and you can move forward. But you cannot deny either side. And I find too many people denying either side. Too many people. Too many people will focus on one extreme and go, oh no, but this is good, this is good, this is good, this is good, this is good. And that's it. Well, no. What about what is actually hindering us here? Acknowledge that. But then we've got other extreme of people that are only focusing on, no, this is shocking, this is shocking. And the couple of actually good things that are actually happening, they don't want to acknowledge because, no, because if I do that, then I'm going to look like I can only speak bad, because if I only speak bad, then that's going to make me look like I can prove my point. What is actually more important here, you or this? That's why I thought this video, I hope, will hit everybody. What is important here? Being able to criticize on something that is clear as day, even, and it's only fair, even in hindsight. We can't see the future. So when something is happening, and you only realize it in that moment and you go, oh, wow, flipping no, this has happened. But you didn't call it before. That doesn't make you a bad person. There's some people that are of the extreme that go, oh, I saw it. You're an idiot. You're wrong. Who are you? Relax. Chill. Because karma is also a you know what. And that can come round to bite you because no one's perfect. And everyone here and everyone watching, and myself included, we've all got things wrong. And we've all got things right. So bring some humility to the situation. And this is why I say it's best to be objective. It's best to be objective and to always acknowledge that it's never black or white. There's always grey in between, and the facts normally lie within the grey. So acknowledge that there's some good and there's some bad, and acknowledge what is good and doesn't need to be changed, and acknowledge what is bad and does need to be changed. And in this regard with Enzo Maresca, as much as we can look to Maresca and see what he is doing wrong because it's absolutely clear, and to also acknowledge that he does have players at his disposal that he can use in a way to get Chelsea playing in certain situations like going down to 10 men, we also need to acknowledge that a manager like Maresca at a club like Chelsea with the money that's been spent should not have the defence that he has at his disposal at the moment. That is just honest. Correct? Realistically, after spending what we've spent, 2 billion now, whatever the hell it is, right? Close to that. Or 1.5. We should not have a defence of Tosin, Chalobah, Fofana, relying on him when he's in A&E, flipping 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Badiashile. And Levi Colwell, the only one that we go, oh yeah, no, but now he's out injured and we're screwed. That should not happen. Or a goalkeeper, let's be honest, like Rob Sanchez. This is where it's best to be fair, though. We do have attackers in this that are good attackers. I believe João Pedro is a fantastic attacker now. I remember saying when we were linked to him, what are we doing? We're going back to Brighton again. What happened? Was I wrong on that? Absolutely. But I'm glad. I've always said, when it comes to this sort of thing, prove me wrong, please. And there's some instances, yeah, I'm proved wrong. I was also here going, why are we going near this kid called Esteval? He's another 16-year-old. What are we doing? I've had enough of just kids, right? He's a baller. He's an absolute baller. This is where you have to acknowledge and be fair, be honest with yourself. But don't feel like, oh, no, crap, I said he was a bad baller, but deep down I know he's a good baller, but I'm going to try and pick out anything that's negative here because I just need to be proven right. That's just wrong. But at the same time, if you go, no, I saw Esteval and I wanted him and he's balling, so I'm right. No. Have some humility too. Because there are bad things here, and I've just mentioned the defence is what is letting us down a lot here. So I don't want to pin that on Maresca, but Maresca does also need to use what he has in this instance. So then, when it's clear as day, he has tried every single avenue, no one can blame him. I believe that our strength right now is being able to attack. Right now, the transfer window's closed. We can't go in for anyone. Right now, the injuries that we have are the injuries that we have. We can't bring them back until when they are ready. Right now, the players we have available is who we have available. We have to try and use what we have and make it work. And I am of the opinion that in these games that we've seen, every time we go down to 10 men, we just retreat and rely on our weakness, which is defending. Why don't we actually keep attackers on the pitch, put them on the front foot even more and go, you know what, we've got no other option but to actually go and attack and score here. Because you can win games with 10 men. It's been done before. If we had a defence like we used to have of John Terry and flipping Carvalho and Alex and Gary Cahill and Ashley Cole and flipping Ferreira and all these guys, right? Ivanovic or Azpilicueta or Rudiger. You have these guys, you can rely on going, you know what, we've got a goal, let's just retreat and park the bus here. Because you've got the personnel to do it. We do not have the personnel to do it. So, what do? We do have the personnel to be able to attack and actually create something up top, which might get us a second goal. That is where you can change the game for yourself, even with one man down. And Maresca just does not want to entertain that at all. And that is where, I'm sorry, that's on him. But we also have to acknowledge, has the business really been done? And I say this in hindsight as well. Has the business been done in order to get this team to compete for a Premier League title or something? Now we are evidently seeing no. Because you cannot go all the way and win the Premier League when the defence is playing like this. You can't. It's never been done. That is only speaking honestly and being objective and being clear and acknowledging where the faults are. So what I want to say, if something happens to Maresca here, right? I'm sorry, something needs to happen to the directors too. That's only being fair. Because we can't go through, and even right now, this is why I'm not of the favour of just sacking Maresca. That's just not correct. Because if we do, okay, who are we turning to? Tell me. Areola. Okay. Prove to me you can do it at the top level. Glasner. Prove to me you can do it at the top level. He's actually done really well at Palace, and to be fair to him, he's even linked with the United job. But look at the United job and look at who's linked with them now that Amorim's under threat as well. Gareth Southgate, get out of here. No, we're not doing this. Do you know what I mean? We're not doing this. We have to be objective here. But I also want to entertain. I hope nothing behind the scenes has gone down. Because when you just flip a switch like this in the way that we've seen and we're getting really bad results, normally it means something's gone down behind the scenes here. And I don't know what it is, and I don't know if that is the case. I don't know. But normally that is what happens. Let's hope that's not the case. Because if that is, let's be honest, there's only one writing on the wall. And that is the manager will lose his job. End of story. That's how it's always been. That's how it always be. That is where we need to acknowledge the situation and not ask for things that are cuckoo land or dreamland or fantasies that are just not going to happen. We have to be realistic here as well. We have to be. So what's the solution? The solution in the immediate future is to offer the opportunities to the players that do need a run, is to make sure that if we are in a situation like we've seen lately where we are down to 10 men, we do not just retreat and rely on our defence. Maresca needs to come up with a solution in order to rely on our attacking rather than our defending. We have to go the Pele route here. Attack is the best form of defence. He said that all those decades ago, and that is exactly what we need to do right now. That's where Maresca needs to focus on. Focus on output of goals. End of story. We are in a situation right now where our only choice is to outscore the opponent, whether we like it or not. And yes, that might not be what's going to get us to win the Premier League, because you can't. You need a balance of both here. Right now, clearly, we don't have it. But that is the best that we have at our disposal. So Maresca needs to go in that direction and try and galvanise our attackers and to get them off the shackles and to allow them to go and play their football and to go and create chances and score. That is all we can do. Even if it means we got to overload. That means we got to use our fullbacks correctly. We might have to abandon our whole inverting thing. Traditional fullbacks. That way we've got added options on our flanks in order to create space and maybe drag defenders out wide. We have to do something. That is on Maresca. In the meantime, we have to plan for January instantly. Instantly. And I'll give you an example. It's absolutely evident that Mike Maignan, for example, in goal, could be available. Well, in January, that's where we actually need to go all guns blazing for someone like him. There's no choice. There's no choice. Even with Mike Penders coming in the summer, no problem. But I would rather for example, Penders and Mike Maignan as our two goalkeepers than continue to go down what we're doing right now. We do need to go out and look at the defenders at our disposal at the moment and see who is actually suitable to come in January, or we go out and buy. End of story. Levi Cole is out for a long time. This is going to be an issue that we're going to have for the rest of the season. And like I said, the players, and it's not just based on one game. I don't want people to have a reaction based on one game. You know, for example, Josh had a good game against Crystal Palace, Josh Achiempong. Everyone's praising him. Yesterday, he does make a mistake for the third goal. Oh, no, he's not ready. Screw it. No, you can't react in that way. You can't react in that way. You can't get carried away, but you can't just write someone off on one game. You can't. We were already in the gutter and 2-1 down. You think that's all going to be based on him? No. That's one moment. Let's be fair and objective here as well. But the players that do need to play will need to have a run of games, 2, 3, 4 games, that should be considered. Even an Andre Santos to come in for an Enzo Fernandez, because yes, he scored yesterday, but let's be honest as well, and this is where you have to be objective too. Yes, he scored a header. It's basically a tap-in. He didn't have to create or do much for that. He was in the right place at the right time. Cool, credit to him for that, but let's not pretend he put in an absolute clinic. This is where you have to be objective. And there is a chance in the long run that if we were to move with Santos, with Caicedo, maybe we get something going on. And people will say, yeah, but Santos didn't play fantastic yesterday. Yeah, but who did after we went down to 10 men? We have to be fair. So this is where we need to be realistic. And going into January, listen, when it comes to the transfer policy and what we're doing right now, it's not looking good. Overall, it's not looking good. Yes, there's some good players that have been brought in, but overall, we want to win a Premier League title or go in and win a Champions League. And why things are so brittle at the moment is because fans are waiting patiently after 3 years, and now it seems like we're heading down the same chapter that we've seen for the past 3 years, and we're going into chapter 4. That is just not what fans are going to accept. They're just not going to accept it. Overall, they're just not going to accept it. And this is where expectations are going to be completely lowered. But I don't want the expectation to be lowered to the point where everyone's just like, okay, well, no, all right, that's just it then. Like, no. This is the key as to why I was saying, no, you know what? Let's go and win a Premier League title. Put that out there, because we need to get the players to believe that they can actually do that in order for them to fight. Because if you don't have that in the first place, you might as well not even show up. And that's not just football, that's anything. And also as a fan, listen, I've been on all sides of the spectrum here, yeah? I don't want to be and let me know what you feel. I don't want to be a fan that is looking, going, yeah, we're going to lose today. Oh, we lost. Yeah. Why am I here then? Do you know what I mean? Why? But that doesn't mean ignore what is holding the team back. We all want our team to do well and our club to win. Irrespective who's running it, irrespective of who's in the club, irrespective of who the manager is, irrespective of who's playing for us. We want to see this as number one. What we saw in the back end of last season, the mentality shift, was phenomenal. What we saw at the Club World Cup, mentality shift as well, phenomenal. That has disappeared, evidently. And we're highlighting the problems, but we have to try and bring solution. Because, like I've said, this isn't year 1. This is year 3, heading into year 4. At the first sign of trouble, we've seen this script before. So everyone at the football club now needs to be proactive and not reactive. Proactive. Simple. There's no other choice. So let me know your thoughts down below. What would you bring to the table in terms of a solution right now? Right now, a realistic solution that can help impact Chelsea right now. Or at least up for the next few games, up until January, and even then, what would you do then? I'd love to hear what you guys can provide as an actual realistic solution. Let me know down in the comments below, and we'll go from there. I feel like that's the most productive and the best way to move forward. Let me know if what you see as the problems and what you see in terms of how we can fix them. And maybe someone's got good ideas. Let me know. Much appreciated. Subscribe, notification bell on. There'll be a second video later on tonight, so make sure you're here for that. Jose Mourinho has spoken on Chelsea as well, so we're going to talk on all of that heading into the Champions League this week. Or next week, technically next week, that Monday, tomorrow. But you get the gist. And make sure you're at Shootout, Newcastle Arsenal watch along later on tonight. And also videos for the rest of the week too. Make sure you're there. Much appreciated. Have a good one, people. See you later. Take care and peace.